This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.
Good evening, Philippines, and good day, world. I am Franco Baranda. It's Thursday, 24th of August, and you're watching Newsline World. We're here to bring you the top stories we've gathered from all over the globe. First, the BRICS Leadership Summit is set to end and is expected to yield positive results following the announcement of more countries joining the new development bank. To this, Pastor Apollo Cignal aired his comments on its expansion and growing influence. Japan has started releasing treated radioactive wastewater into the Pacific Ocean, earning different reactions from experts. But what is Pastor Apollo's stance on this? We'll find out more about that later on. North Korea's second attempt to launch a spy satellite fails just 3 months after launching the first one, which also failed. Wagner's boss Yevgeny Prigozhin is presumed dead after a plane with his name listed as a passenger crashed in Russia. And Australia issued a warning for the incoming bushfire season that could possibly put millions of Aussies in imminent danger. These and more for tonight's edition of Newsline World. Pastor Apollo Cignal has something to say regarding the criticism surrounding the COA report on President Bongbong Marcos's travel expenses. Angel Pastor tells us more.
President Bongbong Marcos earned various criticisms and reactions following an annual Commission on Audit report stating that there was a significant increase in the president's travel expenses compared to the 36 million pesos worth of expenses last 2021. The said report also earned a reaction from Pastor Apollo, who aired his comments in his Give Us His Day program on Thursday.
It's upon the discretion of the president to travel, and discretion of the DBM, or Department of Budget, to raise that. And of course, there will be critics that will try to criticize some of these decisions. Lahat ng gagawin mo riyan na may kaugnayan sa pera ng taong bayan ay may talagang scrutiny. Meron tayong freedom of expression, kasi a public trust is a public office, and you are like a public property. Anyone can comment about what you are doing, especially if they are giving their taxes.
Pastor Apollo also said the importance of the president's foreign trips to improve the economy by promoting and encouraging other countries to invest in the Philippines.
Merong commission on audit na pwedeng doon ilahad ang lahat. So, sa travel na yan, kinakailangan din naman ng isang Pangulo ng bansa na makipag-ugnayan sa Community of Nations para makilala ang ating bansa at magkaroon sila ng pagkakataong makapag-invest sa bansang ito para sa ikaunlad ng ating ekonomiya. Yun ang pakay para marahin ng Pangulo kung bakit niya tinatanggap ang napakaraming mga imbitasyon na dumarating sa kanya para ma-promote din ang ating bansang Pilipinas.
Meanwhile, Pastor Apollo also gave advice to those who criticized the president's travel expenses, particularly leftist legislators.
Dapat ang unang magbigay ng reaksyon ng Pangulo kasi siyang kinriticize ni Arlene Roxas ng Gabriela. At alam naman natin si Arlene Roxas ng Gabriela kung sino yan eh.
Yes.
Di ba?
Amen.
Isa yan sa Cobra Black, di ba? Makabayan Black. At palaging may mga kritisismo talaga yan sila. At ang iba na isyong magagamit nila, gagamitin talaga para sa ganang ganon. Oh. Kung ako ang presidente at ako nasa lugar ngayon ng presidente at binatikos akong ganito ng isang ganito na parang nagmamahal sa bayan, ayaw namang kondinahin ng CPP and PNDF dahil may karugtong pusod sila. Ang sasabihin ko?
Ano po?
Anong sasabihin ko?
Opo, Pastor.
Ikaw na magpresidente. Yun namang hindi nagbibigay ng tax, huwag na kayo mag-comment. Wala kayong karapatan mag-comment. Pero yung nagbibigay ng mga taxes na ginagamit ng isang public official tulad ng presidente, pwede sila mag-comment. Pero mababalansin naman yun ng Pangulo ng isang presidente kung ano ang kanyang dapat na ihatid at ipaliwanag sa taong bayan kung ano yung mga kritisismong tinatanggap niya. Nasa sa kanya na yun.
For God and my beloved Philippines, Angel Pastor, SMNI News.
BRICS is currently on the path of expansion after its leaders agreed to add 5 more countries to the regional bloc. Roxas has the details.
We have decided to invite the Argentine Republic, the Arab Republic of Egypt, the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, the Islamic Republic of Iran, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates to become full members of BRICS. The membership will take effect from the 1st of January 2024.
Argentina, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and the UAE are set to become new members of BRICS, an informal grouping of economies that consist of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Some international observers consider the 5-member club as a counterweight to traditional West-led forums and institutions. The annual BRICS summit is now taking place in the South African city of Johannesburg. The 3-day summit started on August 22nd and ends on the 24th of August. During the summit, China's Minister of Commerce Wang Wenta delivered his remarks where he criticized countries obsessed in maintaining his hegemony. Russian President Vladimir Putin, on the other hand, slammed Western sanctions against Russia in a 17-minute pre-recorded speech. He said the illegitimate sanctions, practice, and legal freezing of assets of sovereign states amounts to undermining all the basic norms and rules of free trade. At least 40 countries have expressed interest to join BRICS, while 23 countries have formally applied for membership. Reporting this has been Melchizedek Cadiz, SMNI News, Kuwait.
Pastor Polo Cignal encouraged the public to observe the benefits of BRICS, as whatever the powerful economies offer will surely be supported by the people if it proves to be beneficial. Ana Jane Sancho has the details.
Let's see what the impact on us will be, whether the rise of BRICS and multipolarity in the world will be helpful or not. These are the words of Pastor Apollo Cignal of the Kingdom of Jesus Christ when asked about his opinion on the world entering a multipolar era. BRICS, an economic bloc composed of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, convened in Johannesburg, South Africa on Tuesday for the 15th BRICS Leaders Summit.
So, malaki ito kasi 41% of the world's population, malaki yun. Nasasakop ng BRICS, no? 31.5% of global gross domestic product, GNP. Malaki yun. And 16% of global trade. So, let us see how it will come out, and it will be in that order where people would rally to it or would reject it. So, according to the common good that it might bring to the world.
According to the good pastor, people will likely support BRICS if it is proven to be beneficial, especially since the organization is also promoting the new development bank, which intends to challenge the dominance of the US dollar.
Yung tao kasi, kung ano man ang lumilitaw ng mga kapangyarihang ganyan, ang iniisip ng tao kung ano yung magiging epekto para sa kanila. Kung ang epekto nito ay maganda, didikit ang tao dyan. Kasi may hahambing na sila eh. Ngayon, unipolar, Amerika, ang pinakamakapangyarihan sa lahat. Gumagana sa buong mundo. Ito, emerging. O, anong may i-offer nito? Na iba sa na-i-offer na nito. Tingnan natin sa mga susunod na panahon.
According to Pastor Apollo, people always consider whether this will be significantly contribute to their country, way of life, and themselves.
Will it help me or not help me? Will it promote me or not promote me? Will it be profitable for me or not? Whatever it is that these powers are offering to the world, it always redounds to the thinking of how it will be profitable for me, for my country, for me personally. How it can be profitable for me. How can it progress me? Yun palagi ang nasa utak ng tao.
To recall, Chinese President Xi Jinping called for the expansion of BRICS and the establishment of a fair and orderly international order. The BRICS summit was attended by leaders who are members of the organization, except for Russian President Vladimir Putin, who opted to join virtually and sent Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov as his representative. For God and my beloved country, this has been Hannah Jane Sancho, SMNI News.
Wagner's boss Yevgeny Prigozhin is feared dead, but there's still no confirmation whether he was really on board with the Wagner jet that crashed in Russia. And since then, uncertainty has surrounded his fate. Let's find out what we know so far on Carlo de la Peña's report.
Many were shocked when reports emerged that the plane supposedly carrying Yevgeny Prigozhin, chief of the Russian paramilitary group Wagner, crashed in Russia with no survivors. The Emergencies Ministry of Russia confirmed that the jet plunged to the ground in Tver region. There were 10 people listed, including 3 crew and 7 passengers. The ministry said that the jet, an Embraer 135 BJ Legacy 600, was traveling from Moscow to St. Petersburg at the time of the said incident. Russian Federal Air Transport Agency Rosaviatsia said that the Wagner chief was on board, along with several high-ranking Wagner commanders, including Vladimir Utkin, the alleged co-founder of Wagner. The Russian Investigative Committee and the government of Tver region are currently investigating the matter. Meanwhile, although the Russian Air Transport Agency listed Prigozhin's name, they did not explicitly confirm that he was dead. And a non-confirmation leaves uncertainty regarding the fate of Wagner and its controversial boss. In fact, as of Wednesday evening, Russian officials said that they only discovered 8 bodies and none had been named by that time. Some Russian media outlets said that Prigozhin's plane tail number was RA02795. Another report by flight tracking site Flight Radar 24 said that a second plane linked to Prigozhin with the tail number RA02878 departed Moscow shortly after the first plane. But this plane turned around after the first jet crashed. A report from Al Jazeera also said that Prigozhin's phone was found at the crash site, but not his body. As for the Embraer plane that crashed, Brazilian makers have said that they have stopped giving any support for such aircraft in 2019 due to sanctions. Meanwhile, the Kremlin and the Russian Defense Ministry have yet to respond to the crash. Telegram groups linked to Wagner released a statement asking the media and other Telegram channels not to publish unverified data and messages. The crash happened at a time that President Vladimir Putin was in the Kursk region in Russia to deliver a speech for the 80th anniversary of the Battle of Kursk and Russian forces. Prigozhin was known as Putin's chef by the media, and his fame surged for leading the battle for Bakhmut against Ukrainian forces. Months ago, he led a short-lived mutiny in Russia against its top military brass, but this move was not taken lightly by Putin, who called the mutiny a betrayal, treason, and a stab in the back. But as part of an agreement to end the mutiny, Prigozhin was exiled to Belarus and all charges against him were dropped. However, he was still able to travel back and forth from Belarus to Russia and was photographed with an African official during the sidelines of the Russian-Africa Summit in St. Petersburg. His latest video address was shot in Africa, where he declared that Wagner would recruit more men and declared that he would make Africa even freer and will fight ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and other bandits. Reporting, this has been Carlo de la Peña, SMNI News.
Speaker Martin Romualdez outlined the amendments to the military and other uniformed personnel pension system. MJ Mondihar reports.
In his speech at Camp Gregorio Lim in Cavite last Wednesday, House Speaker Martin Romualdez provided an update on the changes in the military and uniformed personnel or MUP pension. Romualdez also shared the updates directly with the Marines. The solutions included a 90% retirement package based on the base pay for all MUPs. This is higher than the current 85% package for all AFP personnel. Police personnel with less than 20 years of service will now be included in the pension, including a separation lump sum. Most importantly, all MUPs will receive an annual guaranteed salary increase of 3%.
Our valiant Marines, I am aware of how you value your families and look forward to building a better future for your spouses and children. Alam namin sa Kongreso ang mga problema ninyo para pagkasayahin ang sweldo sa araw-araw ng pangangailangan.
This includes different pension systems for uniformed and non-uniformed personnel. Everyone actively in service will have a minimum contribution. There will also be a special window to assist disadvantaged pensioners.
Salamat sa House Ad Hoc Committee. Makakatulog na mahiming ang lahat ng military at uniform personnel natin, gayon din ang mga pamilya ninyo. Sigurado na mababayaran ang lahat ng pensyon ninyo. May dagdag pa kayong sweldo taon-taon.
The Congress is working to address the issues faced by retirees. They aim to do this without depleting the government's annual budget. A significant portion of the AFP's annual budget allocation goes to retirees' pensions compared to the current maintenance and operating expenditures of the institution. If this continues, it could lead to a fiscal collapse in the country. No less than President Bongbong Marcos himself is advocating for the prompt resolution of the pension system. For Ganamable of Philippines, MJ Mondihal, SMNI News.
As classes will soon resume in the Philippines, Pastor Polo Cignal says there should be a critical balance for school-age children using the internet, especially when they are highly vulnerable to its dangers, and many teachers are now conducting their teaching online. Sara Santos tells us more.
According to the Department of Education, or DepEd, classes in the Philippines for school year 2023 to 2024 will begin on Tuesday, the 29th of August, pursuant to Republic Act 11480. Aside from preparing for another year of academic challenges, parents are also urged to be wary of online dangers their school-aged children could be highly vulnerable to, especially as many teachers are conducting their teaching online with the option of blended learning delivery modality, or BLDM, where students can be taught both in person and online. In his latest Give Us This Day program on Thursday, August 24th, Pastor Apollo Cignal said parents and teachers must guard minors from the dangers on the internet, citing a study which found that 20%, or an estimated 2 million internet users aged 12 to 17 in the Philippines, were victims of online sexual exploitation and abuse in just 1 year.
According to the Disrupting Harm Study 2022 conducted by the United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund, End Child Prostitution and Trafficking International, and the Interpol, there are 20% of or an estimated 2 million Filipino children aged 12 to 17 who were subjected to online sexual abuse and exploitation.
Pastor Apollo stressed there should be thorough and intense vigilance when using the internet, and that there should be a critical balance of minors using it, as there is the danger of being tempted to use the internet for the wrong reasons.
Marami ngayon, yan ang pinakamalaking problema, no? So there should be a critical balance of using the internet amongst the minors, and it is the responsibility not only of the school teachers, or especially the responsibility of the parents, na kailangan bantayan ka ng mga anak. Kailangan bantayan talaga yan. So, sinabi ko, there should be a critical balance of using the internet for good, and also the danger of being tempted to go to the other side, the dark side of the internet, which promotes this kind of illegal activities, especially the exploitation of children. And the Philippines is one of the victims of them. So, kinakailangan talaga dyan ng masubsob at masusing pagbabantay. Kasi ngayon, napakadali ng ganyan eh. Lahat may internet, lahat may computer, lahat may laptop. May isang click mo lang, 2 click, nandoon ka na.
The good pastor even went further by saying that with the internet and social media, all gossip, fake news, and other things that poison the mind can now easily spread and be accepted by people. That is why the youth must be protected from what they hear and see, because according to Pastor Apollo, what you see is what you will become.
Noon, magchismis ka, lalakad ka pa sa ibang baryo, barangay, para makapagchismis ka. Ngayon, hindi na. Through internet, social media, pwede mo ikalat ang chismis na gusto mo. Di ba? Ganun ngayon kadali ang paninira sa utak ng kabataan. Kaya kailangan bantayan ang lahat ng napapakinggan, ang lahat ng nakikita. Pero nyo itong mata at ating tenga, napakalapit sa utak. Di ba? So yung mga basurang balita, fake news, mga gossip news, mga paninirang balita sa internet, napakadaling tanggapin ng mga tao. Yung mga gossipers, yan, madaling paniwalaan ng tao yung mga gossipers. Ang gossip yan ay mga basura. Di ba ngayon sa ating panahon, yung kapitbahay mo magtapon ng basura diyan sa iyong bakuran, makikipag-away ka? Yes. Ngayon, ang tapunan ng basura, yung tenga ng tao eh. Napakadali. Pag pumasok dyan, kagad-agad pasok sa utak. Pag pasok sa utak, poison ka na, lalabas sa bibig mo. Paglabas sa bibig mo, yung kung ano yung basura, yun din ang lalabas sa iyo. Kaya ingatan ng mga kabataan sa mga basurang naririnig nila at mga basurang nakikita nila. Lalo na yung mga basurang nakikita, yung pornography. Napakalaking negosyo niyan. Tapos, papasok yan. Kung malapit ang tenga sa utak, mas malapit ang mata sa utak. 2 pulgada lang. Ito may 3 pa eh. Ito, 2 lang. Nakita mo, pasok sa utak. Tapos, poison ka na. Pagkatapos, magbabago na yung isip mo. Magiging poison na yung isip mo. Tapos, yung naisip mo, magiging item na poison na lalabas sa iyong pag-uugali. Kasi what you see is what you will become. Kaya ganun ang nangyayari. Kaya, masusi at marubdob na pagbabantay ang kinakailangan sa mga panahong ito, lalo na sa ating mga kabataan.
For God and my beloved Philippines, this has been Sarah Santos, SMNI News.
President Bongbong Marcos has repeatedly mentioned federalism in his speeches. Is the president pro-federal government? Here's the report from MJ Mondihar.
On Thursday, President Bongbong Marcos himself led the oath-taking ceremony for new members of the Partido Federal ng Pilipinas, or PFP, in Malacanang. The president serves as the national chairman of the party. In his speech, the president emphasized the importance of consistency in the party's ideology. 19 governors took their oath under the president's party. The president stressed that without a clear ideology, a party won't prosper and its members will keep shifting. Notably, President BBM has mentioned the term federalism several times.
So, we are doing the first step of the federal government for the Philippines in all but name. And that is what we will continue to do. Ang aking laging sinasabi, which is very, very much in parallel with the thinking of federalism, is that with all the systems that we are trying to put together, what we are trying to do is to make the decision process be made in as low a level as possible.
Are you familiar with federalism? Yes, because this was a campaign promise of former President Roddy Duterte during the 2016 elections. These memories remain fresh among allies of the former president.
Simple lang, you're bringing down the decision making to the lowest level. Yung binibigay sa ang kapangyarihan sa probinsya, sa region, para hindi na po umakyat papunta pa sa national government.
Ang idea ng federalismo na sinusulong natin ay dapat lahat ng rehiyon ay magiging federal state. So if we have 17 regions, we will have 17 federal states.
According to PFP National President and South Cotabato Governor Jun Tamayo, President Bongbong Marcos genuinely supports federalism and they plan to gradually promote this under the Marcos Jr. administration.
Dahan-dahan na gagawin yung mga proseso hanggang sa maabot natin yung ultimate goal na meron tayo. Kahit beyond this term ay basta naandoon lang siya sa timeline na naiset natin, ay sa tingin namin mananalo tayo sa labang ito.
However, they're not rushing its implementation. Instead, the federal party's goal is to make the Philippines a federal country by 2034.
Simula pa man noon ay talagang naiset na namin na by 2034, ito yung direksyon na meron kami, na hindi kami magmamadali.
Meanwhile, before the oath-taking of PFP members, issues were circulating about the president's party affiliations. Some said they might transfer to Lakas CMD. There were also claims that the United Filipino Movement or KNP party was formed to support President Marcos. But in the end, he remained in the Partido Federal. Now there are two Marcoses in the party, as presidential son and Ilocos Norte Representative Sandro Marcos also took his oath to join the group.
Kami po bilang nasa baba, bilang nasa ground, bilang nasa grassroots, kami po ay buong-buo ang suporta sa Pangulo, lalong-lalo na po sa kanyang mga initiatives.
Nais po naming ipaalam sa Pilipinas na mahal ni Presidente Marcos ang kanyang partido, ang Partido Federal ng Pilipinas.
For Ganamable of Philippines, MJ Mondihar, SMNI News.
Pastor Polo C. Cablelink on Thursday urged the Commission on Human Rights to first condemn the human rights violations perpetrated by communist terrorist groups before denouncing the drug war of the Duterte administration. Ina Mortel reports.
The International Criminal Court or ICC's investigation into the alleged human rights abuses committed by the Duterte administration in its war on drugs continues to be a recurring topic.
Amen. Praise the Father.
This was stated by Pastor Apollo C. Cablelink in his program Give Us This Day last Thursday, where he answered the question about his perspective on the planned cooperation of the Commission on Human Rights with the ICC. CHR Chairperson Richard Palpalatok said the Commission is willing to share the evidence it has gathered with the ICC. Meanwhile, Pastor Apollo said that the country's leaders themselves want to break away from the ICC.
Kahit ang Pangulo natin ay nagsabing, we are cutting off ties with ICC. Yes. Mga senador natin, mga congressmen natin, lahat ng mga narito ay ayaw nila na pakialaman tayo ng ICC. Bakit? Kasi tayo ay isang republikang may mga batas na pinatutupad.
The good pastor also defended the campaign against illegal drugs by former President Rodrigo Duterte, saying he saw legitimacy in the steps taken by the former president.
Pangulong Duterte, inutusan ba niya, mag-abuso kayo? Wala inutos na gano'n. Sabi ba ng Pangulong Duterte, sige, patayin mo yan. Meron ba siyang inutos na gano'n? Ang narinig kong inutos niya you have to do your job in this crusade against drugs. If your life is put in danger, you have to defend yourself. You know? Siyempre, may mga nagkaputukan, barilan, tulad ngayon. May ilang bilyong worth of drugs na sabat. Makikipagputukan talaga yung mga drug lords doon. Yung mga dadala ng drugs. Sa illegitimate encounter, namamatay sila.
Furthermore, according to Pastor Apollo, the Commission on Human Rights does not intervene in the human rights violations of the communist terrorist groups CPP, NPA, and NDF.
Itong Commission on Human Rights, hindi naman pinakikialaman ang human rights violation ng CPP, NPA, NDF. Saan maraming namatay? sa CPP-NP-NDF terrorist group o sa drug war na ang pakay ay iligtas ang kabataan at ang lahat ng taong Pilipinas para hindi masira sa drug at maging zombie nation tayo.
Pastor Apollo emphasized that the CHR should prioritize addressing the violence of the communist terrorist groups, and he believes that the Commission should be the first to condemn their actions.
Dapat tutukan ng CHR muna ang abuso ng CPP-NPA terrorist group na napakaraming abuses na ginawa.
Amen.
Pamamaslang ng mga inosente hanggang ngayon. At ang panununo, pambobomba at pang-aabuso. Wala tayong naririnig sa CHR niya.
Recall that the Anti-Terrorism Council designated the CPP, NP, and NDF as terrorist organizations under ATC Resolutions number 12 and 21 respectively, pursuant to Anti-Terrorism Act of 2020. The Philippine government has been at war with the CPP, NP, and NDF for more than 5 decades. The terrorist organization has committed numerous human rights violations, including murder, kidnapping, and extortion. For God in my beloved Philippines, this has been Ina Mortel, SMNI News.
Pastor Polo C. Cablelink expressed opinion on proposed halt to free college education program. Meanwhile, the youth pastor favors the removal of wall decorations in classrooms as ordered by the Education Department. Daniela Paulite has the details.
State colleges and universities that openly support the terrorist groups Communist Party of the Philippines, New People's Army National Democratic Front or CPP, NPA, NDF should have their free tuition privileges revoked according to Pastor Apollo C. Cablelink of the Kingdom of Jesus Christ. This statement comes in response to the issue of halting the free college education program. Pastor Apollo emphasized that not all universities should be subjected to the removal of free education. Instead, he suggests that it should apply only to universities blatantly supporting the CPP, NPA, and DF.
Yung state university tulad ng UP na hindi nila pinipigilan ang mga makakaliwang grupo na mag-recruit para sa CPP, NP, NDF, yun ang dapat kunan ng tuition. Pero yung mga state universities na pinipigilan ng ganito at binabantayan na hindi makapasok ang mga komunistang grupong sumisira sa kabataan, wag.
Earlier, Finance Secretary Benjamin Jokno had stated that the universal access to quality tertiary education or free college education is anti-poor as it requires a substantial budget. Meanwhile, Pastor Apollo supports the directive of Vice President and Education Secretary Sara Duterte to keep the interior of classrooms clean without decorations, tarps, or posters. This is to help students focus on their studies. The good pastor also voiced his support for the Vice President.
Tama, para walang distraction. At walang makapagsabit ng kung ano man doon o hindi naman kinakailangan. Pagaling ang sinabi ng ating Education Secretary at the same time Vice President, Sara Zimmerman Duterte. We support her for that.
For God and my beloved country, this has been Daniela Paulite, SMNI News.
North Korea once again failed in its attempt to launch a so-called satellite, as said by its state media. Sigrid Castañeda has the details.
Pyongyang's second attempt to launch a spy satellite had failed just 3 months after the first failed attempt. According to North Korean state media, KCNA, the National Aerospace Development Administration conducted the second launch of the reconnaissance satellite Maligyan-1. NADA said that the launch failed due to an error in the emergency blasting system of its third flight. But North Korea brushed off the failure, with NADA saying that it was not a big issue and that they will try again in October. The South Korean military detected a sad launch around 3:30 a.m. Reports say it flew over the Yellow Sea and a search and retrieval operation for the wreckage has begun. In response, South Korea's National Security Council slammed the launch, saying that North Korea is just wasting its already dwindling resources with reckless provocations that lead to the death and
starvation of its people. Prior to this, North Korea had notified the Japanese Coast Guard of its planned satellite launch between August 24 and 31, to which Japan responded by mobilizing its ships and IGS-PAC-3 missile defense system. Prime Minister Fumio Kishida opposed Pyongyang's move and said it goes against the UN resolution. The latest launch comes as the US and South Korea military drill commenced last Monday. As of now, the relationship between the two Koreas is at its lowest point in years. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Sigrid Castañeda, SMNI News.
India made history after its Chandrayaan-3 made a touchdown on the moon. Justin Nazario has the story.
India's space agency ISRO achieved a historic milestone by successfully soft-landing the Chandrayaan-3 spacecraft on the moon's south pole. This achievement, marking India as the first nation to do so, holds immense significance for space exploration. The lander Vikram detached from its propulsion module last week and has been sending lunar surface images since entering orbit on August 5. Its rover Pragyan has now begun exploration, transmitting data and images during its 2-week operational span. Pragyan reportedly ramped down from the lander and took a walk on the moon, as said by the Indian Space Agency. The successful landing, accomplished with a budget of $74.58 million, underscores India's cost-effective approach to space endeavors. This feat places India in a handful of lunar explorers alongside the US, Russia, and China. Prime Minister Narendra Modi termed it a triumph for humanity, while global figures like Elon Musk praised the achievement. The soft landing of Chandrayaan-3 happened while BRICS leaders are in South Africa for a summit. President Cyril Ramaphosa, Xi Jinping, Vladimir Putin, and his in-person representative, Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, congratulated Modi for the historic event. ISRO's future plans include crewed missions, joint ventures with Japan, and an orbital mission to Venus within 2 years. Reporting, this has been Justin Nazario, SMNI News.
The ruler of Dubai congratulated India after its spacecraft successfully landed in the south pole of the moon. Jonathan Acobo reports.
Marhaba! His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, Vice President and Prime Minister of the UAE and ruler of Dubai, joined India in celebrating a historic achievement in the field of global space exploration.
Indian spacecraft Chandrayaan-3, which translates to mooncraft in Sanskrit, triumphantly made a lunar landing attempt earlier this week. In his online post, Sheikh Mohammed congratulated India for the successful landing on the moon and hailed the South Asian country for its continued efforts in making history. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi hailed the historic achievement as unforgettable, phenomenal, and serves as a victory cry of a new India. Chandrayaan-3 is expected to remain functional for 2 weeks and perform a series of experiments.
The historic milestone made India the first country to land in the south pole of the moon. Tajulak al-Mazim Tati. At karum ni balik na Jonathan Cobles my news na Emirates.
China has called for deeper bilateral partnership as well as a high-quality belt and road cooperation with Bangladesh. Anissa de Guzman has the details.
Chinese President Xi Jinping expressed his country's willingness to step up cooperation in different sectors with Bangladesh as he met Bangladeshi Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina during the sidelines of the 15th BRICS summit. Xi urged both countries to step up cooperation in infrastructure, information technology, new energy, and agriculture, among other areas. The Chinese president also expressed China's support in safeguarding the national sovereignty, independence, and territorial integrity of Bangladesh, as well as in opposing external interference to maintain domestic unity and stability. Bangladesh is among the 150 other countries that have joined China's Belt and Road Initiative, with 3 projects on the verge of completion, while 6 other projects are either underway or waiting to start. Sheikh Hasina congratulated Xi on the 10th anniversary of the Belt and Road Initiative, saying it has opened a new door of development, adding that Dhaka has avoided any debt trap with the help of Chinese funding and assistance. Xi's state visit to Bangladesh in 2016 became a milestone in bilateral ties as it upgraded their relations to a strategic cooperative partnership. China and Bangladesh have been in a strategic partnership since 2016, while Beijing has emerged as Dhaka's largest trading partner and one of its biggest providers of development assistance in recent years. Di siya Nanisa de Guzman, Rangan Chakontep Mahanakon, SMNI News, Pratathay, Sawadika.
Thailand's self-exiled former Prime Minister started serving his 8-year sentence just a day after he was arrested and taken to prison upon setting foot in the country. Chatmongkon Pisamay Gosod reports.
Thailand's imprisoned former Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra has been transferred to a hospital due to health concerns within 24 hours after he arrived in the country from exile.
Thaksin arrived in the country on Tuesday morning in a private jet where he emerged briefly from an airport terminal and paid respects to the portrait of the King and Queen before he was taken to the Supreme Court and then to Bangkok Remand Prison. He was moved to the public hospital in the early hours of Wednesday after doctors inside the prison hospital found he suffered from chest pain, low blood oxygen, and very high blood pressure. Thaksin returned to the country after spending 15 years in self-imposed exile abroad and was sentenced to a total of 8 years in prison. Meanwhile, his opponents cried foul over the report he was transferred to a hospital outside prison amid speculations he might receive VIP treatment. Authorities assure the 74-year-old billionaire will not be given a special treatment.
A senior Justice Ministry official said that Thaksin would not be easily allowed to be moved to a more comfortable private hospital, adding that the former Prime Minister had not requested any special favors during the first 2 days of his detainment. รายงานจากราชบุรีนายชัดมงคลพิสมัยโกศล SMNI News ประเทศไทย สวัสดีครับ
Local experts in Australia urge communities to prepare for what is likely to be the most significant bushfire season. Sheena Seldom reports.
The Australian Fire Authorities Council forecasted a grim outlook of high bushfire risk in most parts of the country. According to the council, most parts of Australia are likely to experience an increased risk of bushfires due to forecasts of above-average temperatures, decreased rainfall, high fuel loads, and changing weather patterns. Emergency authorities wasted no time putting large swathes of the country on high alert for bushfire this spring. Areas at increased risk of bushfire include regions in Queensland, New South Wales, Victoria, South Australia, and the Northern Territory. The devastating Black Summer bushfire season in Australia that took place between 2019 to 2020 burned more than 24 million hectares and claimed dozens of lives. Nearly 500 million mammals, birds, and reptiles also perished from the deadly blazes. Earlier this year, experts predicted that more than 2,400 lives will be lost to bushfires in Australia by 2030. Reporting from New South Wales, this is Sheena Seldom, SMNI News, Australia.
Japan is unstoppable in discharging the nuclear-contaminated wastewater from the crippled Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant into the Pacific Ocean, and it has already started on Thursday. This prompted China to ban all aquatic products coming from the said country. Yasaito reports.
Tokyo Electric Power Company, or TEPCO, the plant's operator, said the water discharge commenced earlier afternoon, and this is amid concerns and opposition persisting among local fishermen and in neighboring countries and Pacific Island countries. TEPCO said it plans to carry out the first round of release over 17 days to discharge 7,800 tons of the radioactive wastewater. The move was met by protesters who rallied in front of the Fukushima prefectural office on Wednesday to oppose the plan.
汚染水をアルプスで処理したといっても完全に害がなくなるとは思えないので、世界の海を汚すことに福島県人として責任を感じてます。できる限り反対をしたいと思っています。いかなる処分をもう行わないと約束して守れなかった政府が責任を取れるとは思えません。でも私たちはそんなに長く海洋放出を続けさせずに差し止める運動を続けていくつもりです。
向こうは処理水って言ってますけど、水飲めるんだっても言ってるんだけども、実際にはそういう問題があって、いわゆる海に流すことによって、これは日本だけじゃない、福島だけの問題じゃなくて世界に流れていくわけですね。それによっての、食物連鎖っていうか、そのあれによってもう魚にしたっていろんなあれがいて、結局その食物連鎖によってね、いわゆるそういう放射能の汚染によって、全世界の食べ物はもう大きく変わっていくということがね、実際あると思うんです。で、30年以降もいわゆる成り合いとしている漁業者ね、漁師の人にいわゆる保証していくってことを言ってるんだけども、結局保証なんてはもうしないわけですよ。今までもそうだったし。
Japanese Fishers Federations and representatives of non-governmental groups in Fukushima said they remain opposed to the plan. South Korea's largest opposition party, the Democratic Party of Korea, held another mass protest at the South Korean National Assembly on Wednesday to express their strong opposition to Japan's move. Meanwhile, China strongly condemned the move and suspended the import of all Japanese aquatic products starting from August 24th. China's General Administration of Customs, or GAC, said they decided to ban such products to prevent risks from Japan's discharge of nuclear-contaminated water. 以上、日本から朝日ニュースをお伝えしました。SMNI News, Japan.
An expert addressed the concerns regarding the recent move by the Japanese government to discharge the so-called treated wastewater from the Fukushima nuclear power plant into the Pacific Ocean. Sheena Torno has the story.
The Japanese government has begun releasing the treated radioactive nuclear wastewater from the crippled Fukushima nuclear power plant into the Pacific Ocean. Approximately 1.3 million metric tons of treated wastewater are expected to be discharged into the sea. However, this action has prompted various reactions from public and has gained opposition from neighboring countries like China. However, both the Japanese government and the International Atomic Energy Agency, or IAEA, have stated that disposal of treated radioactive wastewater is safe due to its advanced liquid processing system. Meanwhile, an expert from Marine Science Institute at the University of the Philippines, Diliman, has explained the correct procedure for nuclear waste disposal.
Okay, so for nuclear-powered plants, all of these, kailangan sumunod sa mga protocol na ang nagmo-monitor ay ang International Atomic Energy Agency. So yung IAEA, may mga bagay sila na kailangang, may checklist sila na kailangang sundan para din sa operation ng nuclear plants at para din sa pag-manage ng waste na na-generate ng nuclear plants. So yung waste generated is also monitored by the nuclear plant itself and minomonitor din ito ng representative ng IAEA. So in general, bago maglabas ng waste ang isang planta, kailangan dumaan yon sa masusing pag-aaral ng planta mismo at ng IAEA. So, dahil dyan, masasabi natin na dumaan ito sa proseso.
Dr. Irene Rodriguez, Associate Professor at MSI, is convinced that Japan adhered to IAEA guidelines, allowing them to release nuclear waste from the Fukushima nuclear power plant.
Ang alam ko, ang gagawin ng gobyerno ng Japan ay dilution. So, yung kanilang mga naipon na waste at nakatago na, nakaimbak na waste sa kanila, bago nila i-release sa environment, idadilute muna nila. So, isang part, kunwari, 1 litro ng waste, lalagyan nila ng maraming seawater para yung concentration bumaba. And then, aaralin nila ulit kung ano yung mga levels ng radioactive material na laman ng diluted na waste at yun yung papakawalan nila ngayon sa karagatan. I think the Japanese government did a very good job containing the problem during the 2011 quake and the tsunami that came afterwards. Tapos yung storage, what they did after, how to manage the waste.
Dr. Rodriguez also explained that while the discharge of nuclear wastewater could have a minor effect on biological organisms, it is still manageable. In terms of aquaculture, fish living near the coastal environment of the Fukushima nuclear power plant could be affected. However,
pero kung maaari naman na pigilan muna yung pangingisda sa areas na may mataas ang level ng radioactive material. So, may paraan para maiwasan ang consumption ng contaminated waste. At pwede din nating ma-monitor yung mga isda mismo, yung fish and the shellfish that are taken out from the coastal environment close to the nuclear plants. So, may way para maiwasan na yung contaminated material ay makarating sa mga tao.
fishermen should not be worried for now, as said by the experts, because it will take several years before the treated radioactive wastewater from the Fukushima nuclear power plant reaches the Philippine waters. Meanwhile, the Philippine Department of Foreign Affairs, or DFA, acknowledged the technical expertise of the IAEA. The Philippines evaluates the issue from a science and a fact-based perspective and its impact on the waters in the region. DFA stresses that protecting and preserving the marine environment remains a priority. On the other hand, the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, or DENR, assured that they will fulfill their mandate by conducting regular water quality testing. Department of Science and Technology, or DOST Secretary Renato Solidum Jr. believes in IAEA study, asserting that the level of tritium is minimal and therefore safe.
Pero ang contamination ay pwedeng mapababa doon sa requirement sa pamamagitan ng mga treatment method, no? So, ibig sabihin, napababa na nila ito. Kaya ligtas na ito kung sakaling yung mga particular na radioactive nuclides ang ating pag-usapan.
However, many people are still concerned regarding the release of the wastewater as they worry about the potential impact on the late-stage fish. The Pacific Ocean covers the eastern part of the Philippines, potentially reaching the Bicol region and other parts of the country.
Kasama rin po kami na maapektuhan gawa po ng pagalimbawa wala po yung makukuha, wala rin po kami paninda. Paano po yung mga halimbawa mga pinapaaral ng mga bata na umaasa din sa unting kita namin sa pagtitinda? Apektado din po.
So dapat wag talaga?
Dapat po wag naman po sana hanggat maaari.
Itigilan nila yung para hindi mawala yung supply natin ng isda.
Pastor Apollo C. Kibuloy of the Kingdom of Jesus Christ shared his perspective on Japan's move. The good pastor said he strongly opposes Japan's release of nuclear waste, citing potential health and livelihood effects on people.
Anong magiging epekto nito? Para sa akin, kung ako ang Japan, hindi ko i-release yan eh. Kasi sasabihin lang may epekto man o wala, magkaka-epekto talaga yan kasi radioactive waste yan eh, wastewater. Pag mga isda natin may epektuhan, mga tuna, mga iba pang mga lamang dagat, patapos kakainin natin, magkaka-radioactive din tayo. Magkaka-cancer na tayo niyan, ganon-ganon. So why are they dumping it? Itago mo na lang. Ilagay mo sa isang malaking sisidlan at kung gusto mo ibaon, nakalagay siya sa isang storage na hindi na pwedeng buksan pa. kaysa itapon mo sa dagat pagkatapos makukontaminate mo buong sanlibutan. Sana huwag na gawin ng Japan yun.
For God and my beloved Philippines, this has been Sheena Torno, SMNI News.
And before we end, may be inspired with the message of the appointed Son of God. Trials and temptations are the fire that will try everyone's work. And that's all for today's edition of Newsline World. For more news update, you may visit SMNINewsChannel.com or follow us on our official social media accounts on Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. For God and for my beloved country, the Philippines, I am Franco Baranda. Thank you for watching Newsline World. And thank you to our beloved pastor, Pastor Apollo Sikibuloy, for the opportunity to be part of this program. May you continue to listen on SMNI as it delivers nothing but fair, truthful, and balanced news, because SMNI is your source of credible news.